Hi there. Um, well, it's been a couple weeks since we were able to get a podcast going, mostly because we've been so busy.
Yes.
Wondering if we could start kind of where we left off, right? Because last time we talked about how to plan a protest and a
hmm
rally and all of that stuff. And uh, and I'm wondering how it went. I think I was out of town or something when the last series of things went down. How'd it go?
So you were at that protest that we planned. That
The
was the
first that
one
we
in,
planned, I'm thinking about
yeah.
the one with JD and Bay City,
Oh
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff.
You were
Yeah,
in the Bay City one. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, that went great. We had around 200 people. I mean, it ebbed and flowed because we did it for, I don't know, a couple hours. So it was like, some people came, some people left. At the high point, there was like 200 people there. Um, it was fun. It was like 70 degrees out. I got a sunburn in March in
wow,
Michigan. So
nice.
that was kind of fun. But yeah, it was just people out. We had all of Wilder Road lined all the way, almost all the way to the plant that he visited. We couldn't get right up to it. And they actually started pushing us back when Vance actually came. Totally understandable. Like, I don't care who the dignitary is, they're going to have very specific ways to keep them protected. We had
Yeah,
Secret Service
yeah,
walking amongst us. And so, like,
yeah.
it was all fine. But yeah, a lot of people came out, a lot of energy, a lot of news coverage. And it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. I got some national news, right?
Yeah.
That one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Cool. And that same day here in Midland, there was a bridge takeover
hmm
event over the overpass. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, there was one in Bay City and in Midland. I didn't attend either of those. I this is advice to everybody. If you have the stamina and the time to go to every protest, go. I'm happy for you. That's great. That does not mean you have to. And you
Yeah,
do not have to be the organizer of every protest.
that's right.
That's something Sarah and I have learned over the years to conserve
We've tried to
energy.
learn at least.
Yes, we try to learn. Probably not as well as we should, but we're doing better.
Yeah, yeah, for real.
We're learning to say no sometimes.
I know. It's so interesting in our organizing group, which is you and me and three other folks kind of who lead these spaces. Um, just how much activity we have going on right now. I mean, it's just constant like options, like there's national things and statewide things and things related to veterans and things related to social security and all, like you could literally be organizing and protesting every day of the week,
Yeah, yeah.
every single day.
That's something I've been saying in my TikToks is just Google, my friend. They're everywhere and they don't have to be these great big national protests.
Yeah,
We've got a lady in Saginaw that organizes one or two just little ones a week. Midland, we're being a little more reserved just to conserve energy, but we're doing stuff too. And as I've said a million times to so many people, like all you need to do to protest is to take your sign and go stand on a sidewalk in a visible
yeah,
place. You can be by yourself, you can be with a group of friends, stay on the sidewalk, don't go on private property, don't put your signs in the ground. And pretty much you can go protest anywhere.
yeah, totally. And when we're not doing stuff locally, we're also like trying to be a good clearinghouse for other things going on so we can get the word out and we can
Yeah.
organize carpools and get people to
hmm
Lansing or get people to Detroit and do that in a way that that makes the most sense.
hmm
But we did have that big rally here in Midland.
Yeah.
Gosh, that was a couple weeks ago. Not 70 degrees and sunburning. It was
No.
30 degrees and very cold wind. It was freezing. But man, we had 350, give or take, folks at that
hmm
rally the whole time, even though it was
Yeah.
really, really cold. That was the one that we did earlier and in the month for related to the International Women's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your perspective on that one?
That was really great. I mean, we've kind of already had a little debrief, but just it's interesting. Like we've done these things many times. It's not like this is our first go around, and you still learn stuff. Like we had a speaker system that we have used many times before, and we didn't have our normal guy setting them up and operating them because he was out of town. So somebody else was doing it. And we heard later that people in the back couldn't hear. So
Yeah.
that's just a thing that, we always talk to people and debrief and figure out what we did wrong, what we did right, what we can do better, so that each time we get a little better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, there's something about just seeing that sea of people with all of those
Mhm.
amazing, like thoughtful, powerful signs that they've
Yeah.
made that represent the issues that they care the most about. And it's just great to see them coming together and seeing each other. And I think
Hmm.
the thing that I kept hearing afterwards was just like how like uplifting it was. It's so important. It's one of the most important things right now for everybody to just like know that they're part of a community in
Yeah.
this work. Um,
Yeah.
so important because the thing that's going to kill any kind of like forward progress that we make against this administration is for us to feel lonely in the
Hmm.
work. And loneliness like gives us despair, and despair just has us, doom scrolling and all of that stuff. So building that sense of community in those events is really, really, really important to the work. And you and I've been doing a lot of community building for years
Hmm.
to lead up to this point, which is part of what we're hoping to be able to share out in the world, some ideas about how to just build community, not only for these times, but in between these times, so that when you need the community, it's there and it's, strong and keeps getting stronger.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Um, so I'm curious about when you think about the work that has been done here in Midland to kind of build community, that by the way has led to like not only a 350-person rally, right? But
Yeah.
also like real results in the ballot on our ballots and
Yes.
in real sort of results in terms of who is elected and what issues are supported. What comes top of mind to you as far as like the stuff that is like important to kind of do to get all of that started?
Well, I mean, I am always coming at it, and we discovered this as we're writing this book. Sarah comes at things from stories, and I come at things from bullet
So
points of
true.
what you need to do. Like that's just
Which is
who
why
we
we're
are.
such a good team to put this book
Yes.
together.
So, like, when I immediately think, like, okay, what do we need to do to build community? I'm thinking from being the chair of the Midland County Democratic Party, it's been, all right, what sort of outreach do we do? Where are we visible in the community? We've got a booth at the fair and the senior expo and the Great Lakes Bay Pride and Earth Day. So we've got different events that we try to be out there, parades, like whatever we can do to show that we're here. There's quite a few of us. We're active. We try to offer, depending upon what the space is, like Earth Day, we try to offer something specifically about climate change and whatnot. But just showing that we exist and we're here um, as an organization is really important. And that's not just the Dems, that's like the Women of Michigan Action Network, um, showing that there are groups in this community that you can join or at least identify with and support the work that they're doing.
That's right. Right. And it's like this is a long game, right? Like this is not just for right now, like scooping up some people and asking them to do something. And you and I've talked about this like a good amount. Like it's about building relationships,
Hmm.
right? And I think about like relational community building, and I also think about like how community building is so similar to like culture building, like in a
Hmm.
workplace, or culture building just in terms of how we define culture in the world. And I think that too often uh, community building is transactional
Yeah.
when it comes to like, yes, the Republican Party, I guess so, but for sure, what I've been able to see, the Democratic Party doesn't do a super great job sometimes of doing relational community building like what we've
Hmm.
done here in Midland. And by that, I mean, you're literally sincerely cultivating relationships over time with people so that when you when everyone is needed the most and their best like skills and magic is needed, they're there. You know who they are, you know what they're interested in, you know how to deploy their and leverage them as a resource to your efforts.
Yeah.
You know what they're capable of donating if you need to do a donation. You know how much they're capable of volunteering, and they want to do it. It's not just about giving something to you, it's about being part of a movement together. And you do that over time and not
Yeah.
just in a transactional way that looks like, you know, yeah, every couple of years getting an email to donate or getting a
Mhm.
cold call out of the blue from some random person running for Secretary of State, right? That you've never
Mhm.
talked to before, but you're on a list somewhere that proves that you're capable or interested in donating to Democratic candidates. And if those like transactional things happen, that's no way to build a movement. That's no way to do
Mhm.
actual community building. It's very tenuous,
Yeah.
and then you have to rebuild every time you need that, if you don't do the relational work over time.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, and I know you agree with me on this one, so I'm just going to talk about it. But um, we've experienced stress and difficulties with the Michigan Democratic Party when they send organizers in for a couple months every election year. And
Yeah,
it's not that I have a problem with the Michigan Democratic Party. Please don't take it that way. It's just that they're sending in people who are generally not from Michigan, certainly not from the Midland area. They're only here for a couple months. Um, and they kind of come in and they're expecting all these volunteers, and it's like, and like we've even had accusations of like, oh, the Midland Dems stole our volunteers. Honey, those people have been volunteering with me for 4 years and the party for 10 years before that.
yeah. I
I
was at
can't
their birthday
steal,
party. Like
yeah,
it's just
I can't
like
steal people who are literally in my phone contacts because I talk to them on a regular
I know,
basis.
I know.
We have, and most communities, most community groups do. They have that um relational, that in-person close contact. And when you've got organizations coming in from the outside, we don't try to be closed off. I've even heard this from other national organizations that like, we tried to get into the Midland area, but I don't know how. Come to our meetings, meet
Yeah,
people,
we're
talk to
here.
people.
Yeah,
This is not, we're not insular. We're not like you're unwelcoming, but we're also not like, okay, sure, fine, come in and use our volunteers and like don't
right.
even talk to us. It just
Yeah,
doesn't work that way.
no. And we like, I mean, the best way to work together is for each of us to understand each other. And when you have just like a transactional group of people that come in for a certain period of time, there's no process for them to really understand what the local priorities are and interests are.
Mhm.
They have a playbook with a checklist of things that they're
Yeah.
told from somebody somewhere else, probably in another state, that they have to do. It's just transactional. It's just
Hmm.
transactional. It feels transactional. And the thing that really sticks, and the reason, like through all of the things that we've been doing, the undergirding reason that we've had success here in Midland, if you look at our numbers and look at our how we've been voting, is because we've been building community since 2016 and even before
Yeah.
that, like
We
true, sincere community.
there's no off season, and then it's not that
Yeah.
we're constantly working on an election. It's that we do like the things I talked about, and we do parties and picnics and informational sessions and meetings and getting together to just, sometimes we just make crafts together. I mean, like there are all sorts of things that we do to create this community for people, bringing in new people, connecting with the ones that we've been working with for a long time, so that when it comes election time and we say, hey, we need people to canvass, hey, we need people to do this, hey, we need people to do that, it's not transactional, because one, they know we're doing it too, and two, they've been hanging out with us, having fun all along.
Yeah, and it doesn't even feel like an ask. It's not like
Yeah.
I'm asking you to do this. It's more like, hey, here's an opportunity to
Yeah.
like further the work that we are doing together. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
this volunteer thing, or it's whatever, or the donation, like it's writing a check for this thing that we all care about. Um, and it's so important. And I'm grateful, um, that what we seem to have new leadership in the Michigan Democratic Party in Curtis Hertel that
Yeah.
seems right. You know, the time will tell, but that seems like interested in taking a new look at how the state party and the national party works at the local level.
Hmm.
Hopefully they'll work to like learn some of the things in communities like Midland so that learn from us so that the whole model can shift. And
Yeah.
I don't say it to shift just for the sake of shifting and for like my sake, but shift because that will, you know, stand the chance of some better results here in Michigan. So,
Yeah,
um,
because one of the things that conversations I've had with Curtis, and I think you have as well, is just we can't, what works in Midland maybe doesn't work in Gladwin or the UP or Detroit or Grand Rapids. Like we have a wide variety of people, communities, we have urban, we have rural, we have whatever. Like there's a wide diversity in Michigan, and you can't do the same thing in every place to create the community and to create
yeah,
what you need. So I'm really hoping that we're able to get some of that across, and Curtis makes some great changes.
totally. Yeah. And so one of the chapters of our book is all about community building. And it's so important. It's going on now. It's just like we talked about in terms of the like protests and rallies and stuff. And the, you know, we don't want to give away everything that's in the chapter on community building, but when you think about like what we're putting together in that space, what's one or two like tips that come to mind if someone's thinking, yeah, like I'm learning from Midland and I'm in a red area that I think can turn around and be blue. And I'm hearing from, you know, podcasts and things like that, you know, building community is the first thing to do. What are some tips and ways that somebody can get started in that?
Well, I definitely think visibility is one thing. We kind of talked about that, being in the spaces where people can see that you exist. Um,
Yeah.
and we've talked about that in like the bigger level of being a party and being out there. But I think even you can get down to the individual level where it's just wear a t-shirt
Mhm.
that says you're part of the party or talks about your political beliefs. I'm wearing my "We Go High and Carry a Big Stick" t-shirt today. Sarah had those made for us for a hiking trip that some of us went on. That it was a campaign. It was part of the campaign. That was one
Yeah.
of the philosophies of the campaign. We like the go high part, but that doesn't mean we're going to get pushed around.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, just letting people know. This is so silly. I've probably said this before, but one of my favorite podcasts, Pod Save America, sometimes they say stuff that annoys me because I think like they're very in politics and they're just not here where we are. So they don't
Mhm.
see some of the things that we do. And I've heard them, and I've heard other podcasts too, not just them, disparage the "hate has no home here" signs or the "in this house we believe" kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I know that where they're coming from is like, oh, that's all they do. Well, first of all, you don't know that that's all they do.
That's right. Yeah.
That's just all you see. They could very much be, volunteering for their party or protesting or in an indivisible group. But to me, the thing is, I have had so many people stop by my house, especially in like 2017, 2018, and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to see that sign. I thought I was the only Democrat in Midland. I thought I was the only liberal in this neighborhood. I thought,
Right.
I feel really threatened." And even though there maybe hasn't been anything said, done,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
happened to them, knowing that a place elects Republicans, you can feel, as a liberal or a Democrat, you can feel threatened in that area. Seeing the Trump flags and the whatever, that feels threatening. And being able to see the opposite can feel welcoming and feel like you're part of this community.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's such a big tip. I mean, it feels like a small thing, but like community building is all about belonging. It's just all about like feeling like you belong somewhere. And here in Midland, back in 2016 and before, so many people felt like they were on a little liberal island. So like their house was an island,
Yeah.
right? And they're the only Democrat, the only like progressive slash liberal, whatever person in the whole city. I know I felt that way.
Yeah.
My husband and I and our kids, like we're on this like liberal island
Yeah.
surrounded by a sea of red. And the more you see those things, the more you get a sense of belonging. And I think a lot about like one tip is what you're talking about in terms of like the like, person to person sort of thing. And I think a lot about like culture building or just culture identification, right? The work that I do outside of this is in human resources, and we a lot of times talk about what is the culture of our organization. When we talk about what is the culture of Democrats or progressive folks in Midland, we've done a lot of work to define that. And when you think about like what is a culture? Like how do I know like this group of people belong to the same culture and that culture might be different than this group of people? And some things tell us that, right? There's like their clothing, their language that they use, their traditions that they share, their rituals, the way that they interact with each other, the way that they treat each other, right? So all of that is part of culture and is part of belonging. And, we have tried in a very, very planful way to build culture here in Midland. So do have we wear certain colors. Actually, we wear a lot of purple and a lot of blue
Mhm.
here in Midland, and we recognize each other that way. Also, the progressive T-shirts. We have language that we use, and we use some call and response language in certain scenarios, not just rallies, but meetings and other
Yeah.
things. We have rituals that we have adopted over the years, and all of these things help bring people in. um and also our values are aligned, right? But it's really helps to like helps you know who your people are locally, who that community is, and it helps you feel less alone, because like going back to what I said earlier, feeling alone in this work is like the death of it for sure. So if you're looking to build community, then it's like thinking about that in terms of culture and how to like create belonging and not be transactional in that work. Those would be the themes and the first steps that I would recommend too.
And yeah, and I want to go back to like the protests we did, um, the one here in Midland. One of the things that I really liked doing afterwards, I didn't get to do it as much because we were kind of like up on the stage area, so we could see all the people around us. But I had a lot of people taking pictures, so I was able to go back through some of the pictures, and it was really exciting because you had the people that are typically involved in like party politics in areas like this are retirees. So and especially women,
Sure.
retired
Yeah.
women.
Yep.
So of course, we had lots of people that would fit that category. We're also a very white community,
Yeah.
so a lot of white people were at this protest. But
Yeah.
but there were a lot of men. Like the very first man that showed up, he was wearing a red hat, and I was super worried. I'm like, well, I wasn't really that worried because I've stopped being worried about counter protesters. They don't bother me. But I was
Mhm.
just like, oh great, first person here. Like this is how we're gonna start this day. His hat was red, and it did say something about great make America great again. And I can't remember what it was, but it was disparaging to Trump. So it was like one of those
You're like,
things that
okay.
was meant to look
Yeah.
like MAGA, but it was not.
Yeah.
Um, and it was an old white man, but like I looked through the pictures and I looked out at the crowd, and there were moms with strollers and moms with little wagons and moms and
Yeah.
dads
That's awesome.
together, and there were older people with their adult children, and there was mostly blue collar, white collar American white people, but there were some people of color. And there were there was this one group of kids that were like, I don't know, 18, 19, 20. I'm terrible at judging age anymore. But they had piercings and colored hair and leather jackets, and it was like, I guess my point here is make it available and make it welcoming.
Yeah.
um don't uh don't make your group so tight knit that it's like, we want to solve climate change, but only if you wear polo shirts. Like, just find a way to make
Yeah.
everything welcoming. And part of that is wearing pride clothing. You might
Mhm.
find people that don't normally fit who you would normally have in your friend group. But trust me, I have made some of the most amazing friends of people that 20 years ago I probably would not have even given a second glance to.
Yeah.
And it's not like a stuck up thing. It's just like we are different people. This is my little subcategory and this is your little subcategory. I have no categories anymore.
Yeah, totally.
There's so many amazing people out there.
Totally.
Just open yourself up to it.
And it's the foundation for the work that we've been doing and the success that we've had. So that's all that we should give up in terms of what we're writing in this book. And I think that was kind of what we hope to cover today. Jennifer, do you have any last thoughts or anything?
Well, I wanted to ask you my question. I don't really have any last thoughts because I just spew them all out all the time. But so here's my last question.
Okay.
What thing do you do? Because we've talked about the fact that we enjoy this work, we have fun doing this work, but it can be stressful. It can be a lot, and it takes a lot out of us: energy, emotional well-being. We've talked a little bit about some of the things we do to de-stress. What is an indulgent thing you do, whether it's once a day, once a week, once a month, that you just allow yourself to have this thing to help you feel better, unwind, whatever the case may be?
Okay, so two things are coming to mind. I'll do the more frequent one. This one's not going to surprise you at all. So I am a secondhand shopper. I don't need anything. Like I don't need any more clothes. I don't need any more secondhand treasures, but I love the hunt of secondhand shopping through my core. And I get it from my mom and my sister. I mean, I come by it honestly, right? Because I grew up secondhand shopping. But man, when I work from home and like sometimes I'll be like, oh my gosh, I've literally sat in this chair for the last 10 hours. My step count is at like 102 for the entire day or whatever it is because we've been doing all this work or like my work is pulling me in or whatever it's going on. When I get up out of that chair and want to leave the house, I usually go secondhand shopping. I don't always, almost, like less than half of the time I actually buy something, but it's like the thrill of the hunt. That it is indulgent. It's indulgent because it's not necessary at all.
Yeah.
But the indulgent part is the best when I find something that's amazing, that is like really cheap, and especially if I find something amazing that's really cheap that I know somebody else will love, that's the best. That is the best.
I know.
So
9 times out of 10, when I'm like, "Oh, Sarah, I love those pants. Where did you get them?" Secondhand shop. And they're always so cute. Like they're just like interesting little things. I have not been a big secondhand shopper because I don't have the patience. But you have inspired me to want to try to do a little bit more.
There's a certain like way to do it so that you don't feel overwhelmed, right? There's like if you're doing it often enough so you can get in and out and know what's different from the last time you were there and all that stuff. I'll throw the question back to you, Jennifer. What are you doing that's indulgent?
So one of my indulgent things, and I do this almost every single day. Obviously, if I have early morning appointments, it doesn't happen. But I like to take a 20-minute bath and read a book. When we first moved into our house in 2017, and the realtor was showing me around, and he shows me the master suite, which I'm like, we don't need a master suite. We're one of those people that are like, we only need what we need. And we were looking for a house, and we got way more than we needed, but that's okay. We indulged that time. But yeah, the tub has jets, and so now I take my 20-minute bath almost every morning. I read my book in the bathtub. My kids are amazed. I have not dropped a book in the bathtub yet. And I just enjoy the bubbles and read, and because reading's one of my favorite things. And awesome. I also use it because sometimes I'm reading for pleasure, sometimes I'm reading for work. It really depends on what I'm doing. But yeah, that's my little indulgent thing. Is just
always books, like always paper books. Like
I do have a Kindle, but it kind of depends. Like sometimes if I can get a book from the library, or there are some books that, like my kids are always giving me books for birthdays, Christmas, whatever. So I have those kind of books. I have so many books now that I'm trying to only buy Kindle books.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have like a library cart stacked with books that I need to read, and there's a whole bunch on my Kindle. So, and I also got a whole bunch from the library the other day.
That's awesome. I'm super envious of your bath because I feel like that would be my indulgence if I had a bathtub in my house. So we have a bathtub, but it's like this shallow. I mean, it's just like I don't for your feet. There's no like kids, like babies can be in this bath, but there's nothing indulgent about the only bath.
There's nothing pleasant about sitting in hot water up to your hip.
For sure. And the other day I was talking to my husband. I'm like, I would really like a bathtub. And I'm like, I've heard about these like portable bathtubs, and you put them, and he's just like, really? Like, are you gonna get like a portable bathtub and put it in the basement? Like, what are you gonna like? How does that work? And I could tell he was just like, how am I gonna tell her that that's the way that something floods in the basement? I was just like, I want a bath.
Yeah, I think if I suggested that to Craig, he would just walk away from me with no comment. We've already had our basement flood a couple times for various reasons, and he will not be adding anything that's going to cause that to happen again.
I know. And then we have a bathroom in the basement, and it has a shower, and I'm like, let's just redo the bathroom in the basement, and he's just like,
because I need another project.
Exactly. Yes. Oh my gosh. So I don't think the hopes of me getting a bathtub that I could actually take a bath in are very high. But I'm glad that you have that ritual to be able to indulge in. And I'm glad your family let you. Leaves you alone.
They don't really have a choice. It's kind of become where like, where's mom? Oh, she's in the bathtub.
Yep.
We'll talk to her in 20 minutes.
She might as well be on Mars.
Yep.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, it's been great talking to you, and happy spring break next week. Enjoy
you too. Have fun.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll be back again.
All right. Talk to everybody later.